Hey everybody, it's Chris, and I'm going to be looking at the Psion update Unearthed Arcana today. I looked at the spells on Friday. Today I'm going to be looking at the Psion base class and the 3 subclasses presented in the document. And I've gone over everything and looked for every change from the previous version. And I'm going to link, I did videos on the previous version, so I'll link those videos in case you didn't catch it, because I'm not really going to go over the stuff that stayed the same. I'm going to focus on the changes, which are mostly upgrades, but not entirely. And so what I've done is on your screen, you can see the document, and I highlighted in green whenever I noted a change. And I went through fairly carefully, so I think I've caught all the changes. So we will begin with the class chart, which is the first thing that has changed. And I'm just going to pull this over a little bit so you can see it. And you will see that at level 4, they've added an extra cantrip. And at level 14, that is when the original got the 4 cantrips. So basically, you will have an extra cantrip between level 4 and level 13. And the rest of the levels, it's the same as it was before. Everything else is basically the same in the chart. So the first feature we're going to look at is Telekinetic Propel. In the original version, this allowed us to use a bonus action. We could pick a creature within 30 feet of us and potentially push or pull it. And we rolled a psionic die to determine how far it would move. They've added a free use, and this is going to work just like the telekinetic feat. So you do not need to take the telekinetic feat with your Psion. You're already going to have the main feature of that. And you will still have the option, if you want to roll a psionic energy die, then you can move the creature a distance equal to 5 times the number rolled in feet. So if you want to push or pull them a lot, you can do that, but it still costs you. If you want to do it for free, no cost. So big improvement there. Telepathic connection. You have telepathy with a range of 30 feet. This used to be 5 feet. So a significant change on the range of our telepathy. Also, as a bonus action, you can roll 1 psionic energy die. For the next hour, the range of your telepathy increases by a number of feet equal to 10 times the number rolled. This was in the original version. However, they have added the first time you use this bonus action after each long rest, you don't expend the psionic energy die. So we have 1 free use here. And what you'll notice is with both Telekinetic Propel and Telepathic Connection, what they've done is they've allowed these features to not drain your psionic energy dice as quickly. And this is a feature that we kind of see all the way through this document. Is the original Psion was very, very not nice to your psionic energy dice if you wanted to use your features. They went very, very quickly. We have added a lot of things here that are going to make it so that you can hang on to those dice a little better, which I play tested this class, and I will say that the psionic energy dice went very quickly. So very good to see that we're getting some options here that aren't going to eat up all those dice. Now, spellcasting hasn't changed. I'm just going to remind everyone the big change from the Psion, from other classes that use spellcasting, is in psionic spellcasting, because the spellcasting for the Psion represents psionics. So what they say is when you cast a Psion spell, that spell doesn't require a verbal or material component, even if the spell includes V or M in its component's entry, except material components that are consumed by the spell or have a cost specified by the spell. So we're going to be able to avoid a number of the components of spells that other spellcasters would need to use. And that is, I guess, mechanically the main difference between using psionics and using spells. We will get Subtle Telekinesis, that gives us the Mage Hand cantrip. Then we will get Psionic Discipline. All right, so it says you further psionic techniques that are fueled by your psionic energy dice. You gain 2 disciplines of your choice. Disciplines are described in the Psionic Disciplines options section later in this class's description. You can use only 1 discipline each turn and only once per turn unless otherwise noted in those options. Whenever you gain a Psion level, you can replace one of your Psionic Discipline options with one you don't know. and you gain one additional option at Psion levels 5, 10, 13, and 17. So the original version, you got 2 extra discipline options at level 10 and 17. So what this means is from levels 5 through 9 and level 13 through 16, you'll have 1 extra psionic discipline over the original version. And this makes more sense to get these abilities more gradually than, get 2 at a time, but you have to wait a long time to get them. We'll also note that the original Psion had a second feature at level 2 where they could choose an attack or defense mode. That is now gone. The attack mode is kind of included in one of the psionic disciplines or something very similar to it as an additional discipline, but the attack and defense mode have now been removed. They were fairly minor, so it is not a huge loss for the Psion. We'll get our subclass at level 3, ability score improvements at the normal levels, and then we get Psionic Restoration. You can perform a meditation that focuses the mind for 1 minute. At the end of it, you regain expended psionic energy dice. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. This used to require a short rest, so it used to be an hour to recover your psionic dice. Now you can do it in 1 minute, which is going to be very nice because there's some features we have that are going to cost psionic energy dice that last longer than a minute, which means we can expend the dice on those, use the features, recover the dice, and still benefit from the features with a full psionic die pool. Very nice. Then we are at level 7. We get Psionic Surge. This has not changed. And then level 18. This is just brand new. When you roll initiative, you regain expended uses of psionic energy dice until you have 4 if you have fewer than that. So once again, easier replenishment of our psionic energy dice. Very nice to have, and I appreciate that you don't have to be out in order to benefit from this. We've seen this time and time again where we have features that say, if you are out of your class resource or subclass resource, then you get it back when you roll initiative. But I don't really like that because you have to expend everything in order to benefit from the feature. Here they're saying, if you've got 1, 2, or 3 dice left, you'll still get a benefit from this feature. So that is good. Epic Boon at level 19 and then level 20. Slight change here. Says you burn your life force to achieve greater psionics. Once per turn, when you roll 1 or more psionic energy dice for a psion feature or psionic discipline, you can expand 1 or 2 of your hit point dice. For each hit point die expended, roll an additional psionic energy die and add the numbers rolled to the total. This roll does not expend the psionic energy die. And this used to be 2. So you could only do 2. Now you can do 1 hit die if you don't want to expend as many hit dice. So we're getting a little more flexibility with this feature. So it makes it a little more powerful. But it's mostly just a minor boost. It kind of reminds me of getting those 2 psionic features at a time. And instead we're going to spread them out and get 1 at a time. Here we're going to be able to expend 1 or 2 hit dice depending on how much we figure we need to have. So let's look at the psionic discipline options. So these are the ones we're going to get starting at level 2, and eventually we will have 4 of them. So we'll start with biofeedback. When you cast a psion spell from the necromancy or transmutation school, you can expend a number of psionic energy dice up to your intelligence modifier. Roll them and gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the total number rolled plus your intelligence modifier. The original version restricted you to using 1 die. So now we're going to be able to use up to our intelligence modifier. So we could use eventually 5 dice. Now, that'll eat up your dice really fast. But again, we were talking about psionic restoration before. What you could do is expand as many dice as you can, get a bunch of temporary hit points, use your psionic restoration to get 1 minute, and you get your psionic energy dice back, and then you're sitting on a good number of temporary hit points until you lose them or you complete a long rest. So just one option there. Just keep in mind you can only use psionic restoration once. Then we have bolstering precognition. When you cast a psion spell from the abjuration or divination school, you can expend 1 psionic energy die. Roll the die and choose a creature you can see within 60 feet, which can be yourself. Until the end of your next turn, the creature gains a bonus to the next D20 test it makes, equal to the number rolled. And this is entirely different than the old bolstering precognition. The old one allowed you to quicken your abjuration and divination spells, and it was very expensive to do so. You had to use a whole bunch of psionic energy dice to quicken them. And now we've got a completely unique feature. So that's good. Glad to see that. I think that looks pretty good. And then we have Destructive Thoughts. So it says, when you cast a Psion spell from the Conjuration or Evocation school that forces the creature you can see to make a saving throw against the spell, you can expend a number of psionic energy dice up to your intelligence modifier and roll them. The creature takes psychic damage equal to the total number rolled plus your intelligence modifier, minimum of 1, regardless of the result of the saving throw. The old version, this is like the other one. The old version restricted you to spending 1 die. This would eat up your psionic energy dice very quickly if you spend more than 1 die. However, the old one only worked on a failed save. Now it works regardless of the result of the saving throw. So a nice boost there. Devilish Tongue. When you take the influence action, you can roll 1 psionic energy die and add the number rolled to the ability check. If this causes you to succeed on the ability check, the die is expended. So that is new. The old version, you spent the psionic energy die whether it worked or not. And we're going to see this design on other disciplines as well. Just a reminder, the influence action is basically anything that's going to use charisma. It's going to be an influence action. Then we have expanded awareness. When you take the search action, you can roll 1 psionic energy die and add the number rolled to the ability check. If this causes you to succeed on the ability check, the die is expended. Once again, that is new. The search actions can be stuff like your perception checks. Then we have Id Insinuation. When you cast a Psion spell from the enchantment or illusion school that forces a creature to make a saving throw, you can expend 1 psionic energy dice and roll it. 1 target of your spell you can see subtracts half the number rolled from its saving throw against the spell. The old version had you expend 2 dice to subtract 1 die. So basically, we're reducing the cost, but we're also reducing the effect a little bit. Then we have Inerrant Aim. You spend 1 psionic energy die if you miss on an attack roll, and you add it to your attack roll and maybe you hit, and you only expend the die if you hit. Then Observant Mind, Study Action, same thing. Then we have Psionic Backlash. Immediately after a creature you can see hits you with an attack roll, you can take a reaction to expend 1 psionic energy die, roll it, and reduce the damage you take from the attack equal to 2 times the number rolled, plus your intelligence modifier. In addition, you can force the attacker to make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the target takes psychic damage equal to the amount of damage you reduced. The old version was twice the cost for the same effect. You spent 2 dice, you rolled the 2 dice, and that was the amount you reduced it by, plus your intelligence modifier. So effectively, we're getting the same defensive effect here at half the cost. And then we have Psionic Guards, did not change. And then we have Sharpened Mind, which is brand new. All right, so at the start of your turn, you can expend 1 psionic energy die to hone your destructive psionics. Roll the die and record the number rolled. You gain the following benefits for 1 minute or until you have the incapacitated condition. And this is very similar to the attack mode that was removed, though this is better. First, we're going to have Bypassing Psionics. Damage from your weapon attack, Psion spells, and Psion features. Ignores resistance to psychic damage. And Attack Mode. Once per turn, when you deal psychic damage to 1 or more creatures, you can replace the number rolled on one of the damage dice with the number recorded when you activated this Psionic Discipline. When you use Sharpened Mind, you can also use a different Psionic Discipline this turn. So what this means is, like, if you are, say, a Metamorph and you're making multiple attacks every turn, if you hit multiple times, you'll be making multiple damage rolls. Well, every single time you roll a damage roll, you're going to compare it to the psionic energy die you used when you use Sharpened Mind, and if it's less, you'll increase it to the Sharpened Mind die roll. So very nice, and of course, if we're relying on psychic damage, being able to ignore resistance to psychic damage is good, though keep in mind, this is not going to ignore immunity to psychic damage. Final thing we need to look at are the spells. There have been some spell changes here. Cantrips are the same. Level 1, we're going to add Life Siphon, which is one of the new spells. We're also going to add Sanctuary and Shield, and we will also add Thunderwave. Obviously, Shield is going to be the big deal here. The Psion notoriously did not have Shield in the first printing, and that meant that With a Scion, you probably either wanted to dip a class that was going to give you this shield spell, probably Wizard, or take Magic Initiate Wizard as your origin feat. This is going to free up so that you don't necessarily need to dip another class, or you can take the origin feat that you wanted to take. So a big help there. And some other nice spells added. Then we have level 2, we're going to add Ectoplasmic Trail, one of the new ones. Ego Whip, one of the new ones. Levitate, which is a nice spell. And yeah, I think, why wouldn't the Scion have Levitate? Then at level 3, Bleeding Darkness, which is a new spell. Enemies Abound, which is a new spell. And that takes us to level 4. And we're going to get Life Inversion Field, which is a new spell. And level 5 stayed the same. Level 6, we're adding Mental Prison, new spell. Psionic Blast, new spell. Thought Form, new spell. Level 7 stays the same. Level 8, we add Horde Wilting, new spell, and Anti-Magic Field. And level 9 stayed the same. The big change, I think, is adding Shield. I should also mention that Animate Dead used to be on the level 3 list, and it has been removed. And I think I understand. Like, I'm not sure it's something we would normally equate with psionics to be animating the dead, I think. So I guess I understand that one. But we've obviously gained way, way, way more spells than we've lost. And that is the base class. So let's look at the subclasses. The Psi Warper is not included in this Unearthed Arcana document, and the reason why is apparently it scored exceptionally well in the playtest feedback, so they obviously didn't figure they needed to revise it. So the other 3 subclasses have all had revisions, and we will begin with the Metamorph. As it happens, the Metamorph is the subclass that I playtested in the old version. So going through, just going to point out organic weapons. It says magic items that provide benefits to organic weapons will appear in a future product if this subclass is printed, which is good because whenever we have classes like this or subclasses like this, they always have to compete with actual magic weapons, right? We see this with the Soul Knife. Soul Knife has their psi weapons, and they don't compete with regular weapons. You get magic weapons, and they're getting bonuses to hit and bonuses to damage, and the poor Soul Knife ends up just using regular weapons instead of their psi weapons, which is maybe the reason they selected the subclass in the first place. So we have our initial features at level 3. The Metamorph spells have not changed. The mutable form has changed. So it says, as a bonus action, you can expend 1 psionic energy die to psionically stretch your limbs for 1 minute. Roll the expended psionic energy die and gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier. So the original version, you did not get temporary hit points. So we're adding a little bit to our resiliency there. And while we use this feature, we gain the following benefits. Our reach increases by 5 feet, our speed increases by 5 feet, and when we cast a spell that has a range of touch and a casting time of an action, we can make the spell's range 10 feet. Then we get our organic weapons. This is one of the biggest changes and one of the best quality of life things that I saw in this entire document. The organic weapons. So again, I play tested this, so I experienced the frustration. But the original version, the way it worked is when you made an attack using the attack action or an opportunity attack, you could attack and your hand would change into a weapon as you made the attack and immediately revert after the attack. So if you had an ally who could maybe give you a reaction attack, sorry, don't have my weapon out. If we get something like the defensive duelist feat, sorry, can't use it. My weapon's not out to make a reaction defense with it. Really annoying stuff. I really did not like it. And speaking of the Soul Knife, it has the same problem, of course. But it looks like with the Metamorph, at least, it's going to get fixed. Please do an errata for the Soul Knife and give it a similar treatment. But it says, you can shape your limb into weapons. And this is the big change. As a magic action, you can reform your hand into one of the following organic weapons: Bone Blade, Flesh Maul, or Viscera Launcher. When you take the attack action, you can use this feature before you make the attack roll. Now, I found that wording a little bit... I had to read this twice to know what it meant. So I think they could clarify this wording. But here's ultimately how it's going to work. So you're going to use a magic action and change your hand into one of the weapons, and it will remain as the weapon until you take a magic action to change it back. Now, it could be, the next turn. It could be, hours and hours from now. You decide. Or you can have a change when you take the attack action as part of the attack action. So either or. So if you haven't changed your limb yet into the weapon, you can do it immediately as part of the attack action, which is great. Nice quality of life there. The wording could be clarified a bit. Like I said, I had to read this twice to know what it meant, but boy, really nice improvement here. Now, there is one little nerf here too, and that is that previously it said that with these weapons, they do their base damage type, or you could choose to do psychic damage with them. That has been removed. So we can no longer do psychic damage with these weapons. They just do their base damage type. So we're going to have a little bit less flexibility with damage. That is going to impact reliability a bit. Now, fortunately, though, we're not playing like a martial character where you're really stuck with one type of damage because we are a full spellcaster. So presumably we will have spells that can aid us in combat. So if we find that we're facing resistance to our damage types, we'll be able to use spells or something like that instead. But the actual weapons themselves remain the same, but just keep in mind that we can have them out all the time now. So this is going to allow us extra flexibility in when we use them. And also the Bone Blade, which has the finesse property, we would be able to take, say, the defensive duelist feat if we wanted to, and use it with our Bone Blade, which would be nice. Then we get our extra attack at level 6, and this is like the Blade Singer extra attack where we can replace one of the attacks with one of our Psion cantrips. And we're going to get an additional feature at level 6, and that is Flesh Weaver. When you use Mutable Form, you can expend a Psionic Energy die to gain the following benefits while the feature is active. You get a +2 bonus to Armor class, and when you cast a spell with a spell slot that restores hit points to one or more creatures, you can expend one Psionic Energy die, roll it, and add the number rolled to the number of hit points regained. The old version didn't have Flesh Weaver at all. It had a different feature that allowed you to do a quickened Cure Wounds by expending 2 Psionic Energy dice. So here we're going to get a significant improvement to our armor class. +2 is quite a bit. So if we're considering that we're probably using mage armor, we're probably going to have the shield cantrip. Then we're adding a +2 bonus to armor class here. It's going to make us pretty hard to hit. And then the empowered healing is pretty expensive. So I would only be really using that in emergencies. But yeah, we're going to have to expend 2 Psionic Energy dice now in order to use our Mutable Form and get full benefit from the reach, the speed, as well as armor class boost. I think well worth 2 Psionic Energy dice. Then we get improved Mutable Form at level 10. This increases the Mutable Form duration to 10 minutes, which hasn't changed. However, remember, benefits we just described you didn't get before. So like the +2 armor class and stuff is going to last for 10 minutes. And if we are using all our Psionic Energy dice, we can then use the 1 minute restoration and get them back, which is going to be very nice, while maintaining our Mutable Form for potentially another combat. Another change here is Unnatural Flexibility. Used to give +2 bonus to armor class. It now gives +1, but that's a total of +3. So eventually we got a +2 armor class with the old version. Now we're eventually getting a +3 armor class. So now +3 armor class, plus mage armor, plus the shield spell. Not too bad. Armor class should be pretty solid. And then we get life-bending weapons. Your weapon becomes wreathed in negative energy, and you radiate life-bending psionic energy. When you hit a target with an attack roll using your organic weapon, roll 1 psionic energy die. The target takes extra necrotic damage equal to the number rolled. This roll doesn't expend the die. This is new. This was not part of this feature before, so we have a significant damage boost here. This note is not once per turn. This is with every attack. So if we're making opportunity attacks, as well as with our extra attack, no matter how many times we hit, we're adding our psionic energy die to the damage, and there's no cost for it. So that's great. Really nice damage boost here with our weapons. Alternatively, when you hit a creature with your organic weapon, you can instead expend one psionic energy die and roll it. The target takes extra necrotic damage equal to the roll, and the creature of your choice within a 30-foot emanation originating from you regains hit points equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until the start of your next turn. So this is what the old feature was, except it was a 10-foot emanation. So the entire feature was you could expend psionic energy dice, increase your damage, get a little bit of healing. But now we're getting the damage anyways. But if we want to expend a psionic energy die, we can do the healing as well. Which often I won't do. Often I'm just going to take the extra damage. So we have nice defensive increases, nice offensive increases, which is what this needed, and the quality of life for how the weapons are used. As far as I'm concerned, this subclass is fixed. This is a completely playable subclass now, and the frustrations that I had in the playtest will not exist anymore. So very happy with that. Also very glad that the shield spell is on the class list, which means we can now use our origin feat for tough, which is probably what you want to do when you're playing a D6 class that's going to be running into melee. All right, that takes us to the Psykinetic. So these are our telekinesis guys. So we're going to start with the spells, which have not changed. Then we get Stronger Telekinesis. When you cast Mage Hand, its range increases by 30 feet, and when you cast it, the hand can carry up to 20 pounds. Of course, all Psions get Mage Hand, so we're going to be a little bit better with it. I mean, this is a ribbon. We get the biggest boost here is Telekinetic Techniques, and this is a level 3 feature. So nice to have your big boost come at level 3. When you use Telekinetic Propel, you can roll a d4 and use the number rolled instead of expending a psionic energy die. So remember, Telekinetic Propel allows you to push or pull. It used to always require a psionic energy die to use. Now we can do it for 5 feet with any Psion. But with this subclass, we're going to roll a d4, multiply that by 5 feet, and that's how much we can push or pull. The big thing, though, is that we're going to be able to do this without a psionic energy die because we get an additional effect. It says, in addition, when a target fails a saving throw against your telekinetic propel, you can impose one of the following effects on that target. And we can boost. The target speed is increased by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. So this is if you're going to use it on an ally. Maybe they need to get really far and they don't have enough movement. Well, we push them d4 times 5 feet, and then we also increase their speed by 10 feet. Or Disorient, the target can't make opportunity attacks until the start of its next turn. Now, I've highlighted this in green, even though this appears in the original. I just highlighted it in green because the way it's worded here, this only takes effect if they fail a saving throw against their telekinetic thrust. Before, we could prevent the opportunity attacks even if they made their saving throw. So I guess a little bit of a nerf there. And Telekinetic Bolt, the target takes force damage equal to the number rolled on the psionic energy die. This is mostly the same as it was before. The big difference is we can now use Telekinetic Propel every single turn. And now it's going to eat up all our bonus actions, so be careful how you make your character. You're not going to want to fill up your bonus actions with other things. But before, it was basically a psionic energy die anytime you wanted to use this feature. Now, that's not the case anymore. So that's a huge improvement for the Psykinetic. Then we get the nerf. All right, so we get a pretty significant nerf at level 6. It says Destructive Trance. At the start of your turn, you can expend one psionic energy die to enter the destructive state. For the next 10 minutes, you gain a fly speed of 20 feet and can hover. And when you cast a Psion spell that expends a spell slot, you can roll your psionic energy die and add the number rolled to one damage roll of that spell. This roll doesn't expend the psionic energy die. The old version, the fly speed was 60 feet with hover, and now it is down all the way to 20 feet with hover. So that's a big nerf. Also, it used to say that whenever you cast a Psion spell, you could roll the psionic energy die and add the damage. Now it has to be a Psion spell that spends a spell slot, so not usable with your cantrips anymore. So level 6 got a big nerf hammer. Now, considering how much we got at level 3, like the increase to level 3 is really significant. I think it makes up for the nerf here. Probably before, the issue was that at level 3 it just was kind of crappy, and then at level 6 you got this big nice feature. But now you're nice right at level 3, and now we're getting a more moderate feature at level 6. So it's a better balance. And it is not the only thing we get at level 6. We also get Rebounding Field. When you cast Shield in response to being hit by an attack roll and cause a triggering attack to miss, you can expend 1 psionic energy die to launch the force back at the attacker. The attacker makes a dexterity saving throw. Roll 1 psionic energy die, and on a failed save, the attacker takes force damage equal to the amount rolled, plus your intelligence modifier. On a successful save, the attacker takes half as much damage only. Whether the target fails or succeeds on the saving throw, you gain temporary hit points equal to the amount of damage dealt. Now, the first thing I should mention is the old version had this as well, and that reminds me that I should have mentioned that the Psykinetic spells include Shield, so it's automatically prepared, but the old version, it was automatically prepared as well, and the Psykinetic was the only Psion that had access to Shield. So that's technically kind of a nerf, right? Because since other Psions can now take Shield, you don't have to be a Psykinetic to get Shield. That was one of the attractive things about playing a Psykinetic. Now anyone can get Shield, though it is automatically prepared for us. The changes in this feature are, before it was 2 psionic energy dice you spent, so it would technically do more damage, but it costs more as well. Also, you only got the temporary hit points if the target failed a saving throw. So now we no longer need them to fail the saving throw to get the temporary hit points. So this is better. It's a little bit better. Still at level 6, we're behind where we were before. Then Enhanced Telekinetic Crush. When you cast Telekinetic Crush, that's one of the new spells, you can expend 1 psionic energy die to modify the spell so that whether a creature fails or succeeds on the saving throw against the spell, its speed is halved until the start of your next turn. That was the old feature. So what they've added is, in addition, you can roll the expended psionic energy die and add the number rolled to 1 damage roll of the spell. So this has been improved. Then at level 14, you can cast Telekinesis without expending a spell slot by expending 4 psionic energy dice. With the old feature, you cast Telekinesis using your spell slot, and then you could spend 4 additional psionic energy dice to enhance it. And when you enhance it, you modify the spell so it doesn't require concentration. If you do so, the spell's duration becomes 1 minute for that casting, and you can target gargantuan creatures and objects. Normally, it's only huge creatures and objects. This is a big improvement because before, it was a 5th level spell slot and 4 psionic energy dice. Now it's just 4 psionic energy dice. So really nice improvement at level 14. Pretty decent improvement at level 10. Big improvement at level 3. Pretty significant nerf at level 6. Overall, I'd say the Psykinetic came out ahead. And it's better balanced now. We're getting decent features at every level. The 20-foot movement at level 6, it still seems... I wish it was the fly speed equal to your speed, right? Like 20 feet, I don't love that. But I still think that overall this subclass got a boost. So it's in better shape than it was before. And I wish I could say the same about the Telepath. The Telepath is the one that it was kind of rough in the last Unearthed Arcana, but it had one trick that was nice. That trick is gone, and I'm not sure they've replaced it with anything significant. This one is a disappointment, but let's go through it. We're going to start with Mind Infiltrator. When you cast Detect Thoughts, you can expend 1 psionic energy die to modify the spell, so the spell doesn't require spell components or concentration. In addition, when you use the Read Thoughts effects of the spell, the target doesn't know you're probing its mind if it fails a Wisdom saving throw. The old version had the same feature, except it didn't have the highlighted text. And when I saw that difference, I thought, oh, they've added a new restriction here. But it's weird, because I go to Detect Thoughts and read it, and the only time that somebody would ever know you're probing its thoughts is when you use the Read Thoughts effect of the spell. So I'm not sure why they've added this text, since that's the only time this would take effect anyway. I don't know. It just seems like extra text. But effectively, like mechanically, there's no change to Mind Infiltrator. Then we have Telepath spells. We have changes here. So you can see I've highlighted Slow and Yolande's Regal Presence. Those are new on the list. Removed are Speak with Plants and Awaken. I think people will appreciate Slow over Speak with Plants for sure. I'm not sure why the Telepath had plant spells to begin with. So maybe there's some kind of fantasy or fiction I'm unaware of where telepaths have an ability to speak and control plants. I don't know. But it didn't seem to make sense to me. So I prefer Slow in Yolande's Regal Presence, and Slow's a good spell. Now we're going to get into the part of the subclass where I think it really fell down. So level 3, we get Telepathic Distraction. When a creature you can see within range of your telepathy hits with an attack roll, you can take a reaction to roll 1 psionic energy die and subtract the number rolled from the attack roll, potentially causing the attack to miss. The die is expended only if the target misses the attack. So this is a little bit like a crappy version of the shield spell, right? The shield spell would give you 5 to your armor class, and it would last until the start of your next turn. Here, this is against 1 attack, and we're rolling randomly, and our average roll will be less than 5. So this is a lot worse than shield. And it's not free. We're still spending a psionic energy die unless they hit us anyway, in which case we just wasted our reaction. And the shield spell is available to Scions. So it's not like we don't have the shield spell, so at least we have this. No, this is in addition to access to the shield spell. So I only have 1 reaction, so I would take the shield spell and cast shield and never use this. That would be my recommendation. Or if you see the rolls before you use the feature, maybe I would use this if the attack hit by more than 5 and I wasn't expecting any more attacks that turn, then maybe. But that's it. Like, this is almost completely useless. And it's new. This has been added, and I don't know why. This does not make sense to add this to a class that has access to shield. It just seems like a wasted feature. And it's a new feature, but it's not an additional feature because it replaced a feature called Telepathic Hub that allowed multiple targets for our telepathy because we're a telepath. Now, that was a ribbon. At least it was a ribbon until level 6 when it got really, really good. But at level 3, it was a ribbon, but at least it was a thematic ribbon. Telepathic Distraction just seems like a waste to me. So I think the Telepath actually took a hit at level 3. Not a big one. Where it really takes the big hit is level 6. So then we get Bulwark Mind. At the start of your turn, you can expend 1 psionic energy die to strengthen your mind and enter a fortified state. For the next 10 minutes, you have resistance to psychic damage. Didn't used to give you that. Gives you that now. And whenever you make an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throw, you can add a roll of your psionic energy die to the save. It used to be a d4. Psionic energy die is bigger than a d4. Rolling the psionic energy die doesn't expend it. You can't use this benefit if you have the incapacitated condition. So this looks like it's all improvements, except for the huge, huge, huge nerf to it, where before it used to also benefit any creature that we were in telepathic contact with, which we could be with several creatures thanks to Telepathic Hub, which is now gone. So we could give, it was only a d4, but it was a d4 to everybody. Now it's just a psionic energy die to us alone, and our party doesn't benefit at all. Plus we get resistance to psychic damage. This is a downgrade, in my opinion. I'd rather have a d4 for the entire party than a psionic energy die just for me. I guess if you don't like helping your allies, then technically you personally benefit a little bit more than you used to. But I think this is a downgrade, in addition to the downgrade at level 3. Then we get Potent Thoughts. You have a telepathy with a range of 60 feet. You didn't used to get that, so that's good. In addition, you add your intelligence modifier to the damage you deal with any Psion cantrip. We got that before. Then Telepathic Bolstering has not changed. And then Scramble Minds. This is the only real improvement I noted to this subclass at level 14. You can cast Confusion without expending a spell slot by instead expending 4 psionic energy dice. So the old version, it was just like with a Psykinetic and Telekinesis, except this case it's Confusion. Before you cast a spell and spend the dice, now you just spend the dice. But this doesn't benefit us as much because Confusion is a 4th level spell, not a 5th level spell. But it's still a benefit. And when we cast it this way, the radius of the spell sphere becomes 30 feet. That's a big increase. It was 10 feet in the original spell. The old version had that as well. And you can choose one creature you can see in the spell's area to automatically succeed on their saving throw against a spell. That could be good if you have an ally in there, though not huge. We'll see that in a second here. In addition, when a creature under the effect of the spell starts its turn, you choose their behavior from the table for the turn instead of the creature rolling to determine its behavior. The old version, as you can see here, you rolled 2 dice and picked. Now, there's not a whole lot of different things that Confusion will have you do. Most of the time, it's going to be they waste their turn. That's what it's going to be most of the time. And if you roll 2 dice, that's usually what you could get. But here, we're just going to be able to pick. So maybe if we want them to run away from us, we can do that, or run in a random direction. Or maybe if they're next to an ally, we could have them attack the ally. So there are benefits to that. Also, if we happen to have friendly fire, we could have them act normally on their turn. Of course, we already chose one creature and automatically had them succeed on their saving throw against a spell. So they're acting normally anyway. The only real benefit to succeeding on their saving throw against a spell would be the Confusion spell also prevents you from taking opportunity attacks. So you would still be able to make your opportunity attack. So there is a benefit. So this did get boosted, and level 14 is actually fairly nice. My problem is that level 14 is nice, but that's a long way, and we've only taken hits before that. And the big feature of this Telepath before was we could kind of boost all our allies through our telepathy. We could have telepathic contact with all of them, give them all benefits to their saving throws, and we can't do that anymore. And it doesn't feel to me like we got enough in return. And so I would argue that the Telepath is actually in worse shape than it was before, and I'm not sure it was in fantastic shape to begin with. So, yeah, I think they went the wrong way with the Telepath, which is disappointing to see. I don't think it's horrible, but it definitely seems like the weakest of the 3 subclasses to me, and weaker than it was in the previous Unearthed Arcana. The Psykinetic, I think, got improvement overall, and it's a more even balance between levels. And the Metamorph just got boosted across the board. Speaking of which, the Psion got boosted as well. So no matter what you play, the improvements to the Psion is something that you will feel, especially with the Psionic Disciplines. They're a lot better. Overall, I think big improvement. Psion, I didn't think it was a bad class to begin with, but the improvements to the Psionic Disciplines is going to make them feel a lot more impactful and make your decision on which ones you pick a lot more impactful. And it looks like we have 3 out of 4 subclasses pretty good, and hopefully they can fix that Telepath before publication. And that is the entire Unearthed Arcana. Man, they've been releasing these like a machine gun lately. I can hardly keep up. So hopefully I'll be back to regular content next week, unless they release another Unearthed Arcana. They're working hard. Got to give them credit for that. But until next time, I'm going to sit back, relax, and have some fun. D&D is for everyone. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.